Bada bing, bada boom, yeah. Okay, we are on. Thank God. Okay, so like I was saying to you guys, let me stand up so I can get some energy since I am sick, even though I'm kind of roasting all of a sudden. So for presentation's sake, let's start. Let's start now. So as you guys know, we have a tremendous amount of skills to work on. And to become a power prospector, you have to have the ability to be able to create trust, respect, rapport with anyone, anytime, anywhere, under any circumstances. You got to be super engaging with how you ask questions, how you repeat, how you respond to people, to develop that level of communication capacity. It requires that you practice. And, as we've gone through this whole training, you've seen that there are a tremendous amount of skills that we must master. And what I've noticed as a prospecting coach for 12 years of my life, I've realized that these skills that I'm referring to in the training program, they're not like, oh, this is just a good idea. It's like these ingredients are the ingredients that make the difference. When I've seen some of the best prospectors in the history of real estate standing in front of me on the phone, and when I'm listening to their presentation style and their setting, literally, like one of my good buddies, Rod Moser, comes into the prospecting school, he set 20 for sale by owner appointments in one day. And those weren't preview appointments, because anyone in their right mind can set up a bunch of preview appointments. Those were 20 listing appointments with a for sale by owner. That was extraordinary. And, the same 8 hours that you guys have as a prospector, he was in my prospecting school. I probably, had him for an hour and a half for lunch. I probably had him for a couple hours of training. And, he probably had a few breaks in between. And he set 20 appointments. So, when I tell you that these skills that I'm requesting that you become a master of, I'm not saying like that's kind of a good idea. I'm saying like get those things down and you will become extraordinary beyond measure. And that's like a Rod Moser, or like one of my great friends, Ali Van Westenberg, who she had one Mojo on one laptop, another Mojo on another laptop, two different headsets going. So she was dialing six phones on one laptop, six phones on another. I'm sorry, three lines on one laptop, three lines on the other laptop, and she was making some calls with her cell phone. She set like 40 appointments in like seriously 2 days. That's some extraordinary stuff. Listen, guys, that's where I want you to go. So, how do we use this tool called role play to become a much more powerful presenter? And today I just want to really refer to the mistakes that totally kill a good prospecting session. And then we're going to re-review the rules of your role play. So let's just dive into behaviors that kill confidence versus creating confidence. And as you guys all know, the role play is designed to create confidence. It's not designed to trip people up and to test people and to throw weird stuff at them. So let's look at the killers. Just reading the script to your partner like a bedtime story, that's a disaster, right? If you were to do that with me, it pisses me off, because unfortunately it just feels like I'm wasting my time. So unless you're really trying to present the script, please, please, please avoid this just reading the script to each other. Okay. The other thing that kills a good role play session is giving unsolicited advice. Now, I am a prospecting coach expert, so I kind of have free reign to give you guys advice, but even still, sometimes I do it inappropriately. So, and I'm a professional. So, for you guys who are all working on it, please refrain from the unsolicited advice. Okay? Giving your partner dead end responses. That just kills a session. We're going to practice just listen, just sold, and you're like, nope, I'm just going to die in my house. And you're like, really? Thanks. Now, unless we were pre-planned that we were going to work on the old person script, then that response is just not appropriate, right? Giving the response of, no, we're definitely not selling, and we love it here. That's just not an appropriate response for a role play. Trying to trip up your partner, okay, that's definitely not appropriate unless you had some agreement in advance that that's what you guys wanted to do just for fun and practice your skills and practice your wittiness and to practice your instant responses. But that's totally not appropriate. Giving illogical responses that they can't handle, like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Please refrain from that. And I think the last one, being too tough when someone is new. Like, such a killer. So, if I was role playing with Marie yesterday, she's newer to our program. She's, has a lot of good presenting experience, but I was not going to be really tough on her. I really wanted to see how she moved through the script, and I wanted her to build some confidence. So make sure that you're appropriate with your current role play partner. Okay, good. Next, the quality of your role play session depends mostly on the person playing the prospect. So I just want you to know, if you're the prospect, you have a major responsibility in the role play. So it's not just the presenter. The presenter has their responsibility. Okay? So, I don't want, if you're like, okay, well, now you go, and you just start being, start checking your email and doing whatever and just giving flippant responses. If you're the prospect, you need to be really present and supportive and nurturing and, really working with them. So, I wrote down, the person being the prospect should be working to support the presenter to get better. If they are new to the script, be easier and allow them to complete the script. If they're more experienced, then give them more realistic objections to challenge them. But always, always, always let them win. If you stop your role play partner as the prospector, you stopped them dead in their tracks, and then they actually want to give up, then you did a disservice to them, right? And you've got to, and we sometimes do that accidentally, but if you're like doing it intentionally, I'm going to smack you across the hand. But if you stop your partner, get them back, re-encourage them to continue on. Okay? Good. Let's take a look at mistakes that make your role play feel like a waste of time. Okay? Not communicating up front with what you want to work on. So, if you don't communicate in advance, and I don't know if I shared this with you guys the other day, but, I role played with, my buddy Paul Campanero, who's an excellent prospector, and we both were like working on expireds. So we both need to work on our intro objections and our intro strength. We both agreed upon that in advance. Then as we launched into our role play, it was awesome, super valuable. But if you guys don't make that agreement, sometimes it just feels like a waste of time. Jumping into a role play without sharing what you're working on sometimes can feel like a waste of time if you just kind of launch into whatever script and just read the script and kind of do what you do. That's a waste of time. Not practicing a particular skill. If you're not practicing a particular skill on a role play session, you're wasting your time. Okay, so let your partner know, here's the skill I need to work on. What skill do you need to work on? And let's work through that in this process. Not paying attention to personality type. This can be highly irritating. With everybody in the group, everyone's a different personality type. So, if I've got a driver in the group and, they're role playing with someone who's a little bit more analytical, and you guys don't put that on the table, then the driver is sitting there being super impatient and probably being totally annoyed by the analytical. And then the analytical, because they hate confrontation, gets totally discouraged because they can tell that the driver is being impatient and is probably a little irritated. So the analytical feels bad, and, this whole thing is a waste of time. So, listen, part of why I want all of you guys to be role playing with each other and making sure everybody's role playing with everyone is because I want you to practice every one of the different personality types. Okay, so, if I get Chris on the phone, she is much more in the expressive driver personality category. And if I'm Gail, who's more in the analytical amiable category, well, Gail needs to step up her volume and intensity for if she's going to role play with Chris. Right? And then if Chris is going to role play back with Gail, she needs to mellow down a little bit and slow down and be softer for the analytical personality style. We need to practice that in our role plays. Okay? Not working on our mimicking and mirroring. That's a big mistake. A lot of you still are not mimicking the hello or the hi very effectively. You're not doing it very smoothly yet. We got to continue to work on that. Not working on objections together. If we're not working on our objections together, it does feel like a waste of time. Because some of you, the better you get, the more objections you're getting. And so if you role play and you don't have some agreement around what objection you're getting and what you need to work on to produce results, then you're just going through the script, you start to just feel like, well, that was a waste of time because I'm really getting this objection and I don't know how to handle it and I didn't work on it, so then that was a waste of time. Right? So let's look at the last one, not practicing your closing skills. Okay? We've got to be practicing our closes. Closing for the email, closing for the home property analysis, closing for a face-to-face, closing for a phone appointment, closing a FSBO for a preview, closing the old expired. Each one of those closes is definitely unique and has a little strategy around that. I need you guys to really step up your game in practicing your closing. Let's take a look at the next thing I wrote here is, if you want to get a lot better, then you need to practice with the best. But the best don't want to waste their time with someone who isn't committed. Okay? So over the years, I've trained and coached so many prospectors, and I said, you need to get better role play partners. You need to find the best of the best and role play with them. And usually, people are a little bit insecure about that. They're like, well, I don't really want to, if I ask the best people in the industry to role play with me, they probably won't want to role play with me. And the truth is, everybody, is the best of the best, they got there because people that were better than them helped them along the way. So they always want to reciprocate back to someone else to help them along. But the one thing a great prospector does not want to do is waste their time with someone who's not really ready to role play and to give it everything they've got. So if you were reading the script to a top prospector in a role, they would be pissed if you didn't have that upfront communication. They'd be pissed. But if you were prepared, as we're discussing today, they would love it. Because then they get to flex their muscles. They get to show off. They get to show you how great they are. And that feels good and gains confidence for them. So, asking someone who's the best of the best is absolutely appropriate, but only for those people who are committed to making role play amazing. So, obviously you'll get exactly what you put into it, but the most successful athletes, actors, and actresses are always the ones who practiced more than everybody else. And, a lot of times that's not highlighted. Tiger Woods, one of the most successful golfers ever, he practiced, had more coaches, did more training than anyone else from the youngest age. That's why he's so successful. It's not because of anything else other than his practice, his coaches, and his training, and starting at such a young age. Michael Jordan, the same thing. He always, in every one of his books, was like, this practice intensity. He literally says, my practice intensity is one notch higher than it is actually in the real game. Same thing with all of the most successful actors and actresses. The amount of time that they spend to really understand the character, the script, the language, the delivery. The best ones always out practice everybody else. So, you're not alone in this. So let's take a look at the rules for success in role play. Okay, the rules for success. Always allow your partner to win and let them set an appointment. Okay, I think we're pretty clear on that now. Ask your partner what they need help with. If they don't opt in before you start, hey, what do you need help with? Objections, skills you're working on. So if they forget, you just bring it up. Okay? Good. Ask them what objections that they need to work on. And as we discussed yesterday, if you're not taking notes in your role play session, that's a big mistake. So if I ask you guys on the next live session, what are some of the biggest objections you're dealing with? I should be getting something from every one of you. Patrick, what about this? 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 But instead, I've been asking and I hear crickets. Actually, I hear roosters. Right? So you got to be taking better notes while you're prospecting so that you know where you're getting stopped on the script. You kind of know what objections are so that you can share and discuss, and I can help you and your partners can help you. Ask what skills that they need to perfect so that you can be listening for it, and then at the end you can let them know, hey, you did really good there, you kind of lost me there. And I did now notice, as the prospect, I noticed that when you were really good with that skill, it was very compelling and I was very engaged. But when you kind of lost it, I actually started to notice that I got irritated for some reason and I didn't want to give you an appointment. So, let's work through that again to make sure that you're kicking butt. Okay? Save your, another last rule, save your advice for the end, right? But keep it to one thing only. One thing only. Only I am allowed to overwhelm you guys with all kinds of crap, right? And it's something that, this advice, by the way, is something I work on because I over advice all the time. So for you guys, just one thing. Here's the one thing that I think if you were just to step it up there, it would be awesome. But then, as you see at the end there, don't just give them the advice. Actually demonstrate it. If you're good at that one thing, then say, hey, let me show you what I mean. And do it. And then go, now you do it. And get them to do it. And then go, wait, let me do it one more time. And then you do it one more time. Here you go. I'll do it. Then you do it. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, that sounded awesome. Great job. See, that is a successful role play session. Okay? Last thing, of course, is just always bring your A game. When you have an opportunity to present, work on it. Right now, I just want you guys to know, I have a big mirror, so I'm standing and I'm presenting to you guys. And, it's an opportunity for me to also practice my skills as I'm presenting to you guys. So instead of me just sitting and just going through this with you, I created the PowerPoint. It's already there. I could just walk you guys through each point, no big deal. But for me, it's like, this is an opportunity to present. You know what? Let's go. I'm not feeling great. Who cares? Let's get my body language going. Let's get my tonality going. Let's get my fluidity going. How can I continue to elevate my game as a presenter? Right? So whenever you have an opportunity to present, give it everything you got. Go for it fully. Don't hold back. Because if you hold back, when you perform, you'll be at a disadvantage. If you go for it fully every time you have an opportunity to practice, your skill level, your confidence will start shooting through the roof. To the point where I want you guys to the point where you're on the phone and you're just waiting for that next caller, just waiting and waiting, we're waiting, okay, wrong person, wrong number, that person hung up, that person was a jerk, but you're still waiting, cool, okay, I got one, here we go, and then you're like, I hope they give me a good objection this time, because this one, I just need to hear something different. That's where I want you guys, to where you're like, I can't wait to hear what objection this one's going to give me. Because I need some challenge here. Just a matter of time. So, I want you guys to have more fun, of course. So, a couple advanced role play techniques here. Let me just touch on these really quick so we can wrap up on time. So, if I'm the prospect, I might give my partner the same objections that I just received on a live call of my own, that I kind of need some help with. I want to see how they would handle that. Okay, that's an advanced technique. Now, you would ask permission for that, of course. And I would only ask someone who's a great prospector. Hey, can I give you really quick, Liz, kind of the guy I just got off the phone with who I really struggled with? I'll play him, and I just want to hear how you would handle that. Are you up for it? Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Cool. See, that's an advanced technique. It's a really, really good one. Okay? My personal favorite is I like to be very general and short with my answers. So you ask me a question. Gosh, Patrick, who else do you know that would be interested in selling their home? I don't know. Well, what about you? If you were to sell your home, where would you go to next? I don't know. No, not totally sure. See, that's general, short. Now, I left the crack open for you. See, the door is cracked because I said, lots of pausing, lots of hesitations. I'm not sure. We don't really know. That was a full hint. So what you've got to now do is you got to ask me another question. And you might say, well, if you guys were to ever move, would you stay in the area or would you guys move out of the area? Oh, well, no, we would definitely stay in the area. See, I'm still being kind of general and aloof. Oh, really? Well, have you guys been looking at all? Well, and see, now you're on question number 3, and I might kind of reveal to you a little bit more because you've worked for it and you've earned it. So now I might go, well, yeah, me and my wife, we've been talking about it. See, still very general, but I've opened the door a little bit more for you. So now I need you to kind of come on in and give me 2 or 3 more questions, crack me open, and then I'll reveal my motivation to you. And then I'll say, yeah, you know what, my wife's super excited because we're having a new baby and we need to get into the new place. So, we're kind of looking a lot right now. But I forced you to kind of ask me 2 and 3 and 4 questions to crack me open. That's an advanced role play strategy. Okay? And sometimes I do that with you guys and you kind of skip over it. So, it's something that we got to, talk to each other about and kind of know that that's coming. Okay? Last thing is in advanced strategies, and this is a really fun one. A lot of you guys need to start working on this with your closes. as well, just with your general presentation. So I like to, in an advanced role play, always give a reflex no response up front, kind of in the beginning, right? You know what? I'm not totally interested right now. Just kind of just try and just kind of do a brush off with you, and I want you to get past that and move on to the next question so you can practice getting past that intro objection. And then as you get down to the close, then I kind of forced you to ask me all those additional questions to discover my motivation. Then I reveal the motivation. And now you're like, okay, I got you. And then you start going to close. Well, why don't I get your email address? Well, why don't, let me talk to my spouse first. And then you got to handle the spouse. And then like, well, why don't you just send me some information to the email? And here's my email address. And then you get my email, but now you want to close for the face-to-face appointment because you know I'm highly motivated. So then I might throw you one more. Well, why don't you guys just why don't you just call me back next week? Because I really don't know my schedule. Right? So I gave you 3 just little reflex objections at the very end for you to really practice handling those last closes. So you can see, I don't know about you guys, there's a lot of stuff to work on. And that's why, I put role play as, into your schedules twice per day. Not because I just want to bore you guys to tears and drive you nuts. And I get a lot of flack from, your guys' bosses like, well, what are they doing? They're spending an hour on role play. And I'm like, I need them to be working on their skills. But I know for some of you, you've used the role play sessions as a way to gain confidence and skills. But I think for a lot of you, now that you've gone through this presentation, you realize that you can definitely step your game up. So, last thing is, the role play is designed for us to support each other, to encourage each other, to challenge, to inspire, to motivate, and to lead the way for each other. So let's step up our game in these role play sessions.